The future outlook of the world economy changed radically with the accelerated rise of China, which has taken place since the early 1990s. The supply of China's rising demand altered the relative price of most basic commodities from wheat to oil and the relative size of world power. Europe is a relatively declining part of the world in economic and political terms, against the rising power and influence of China and the whole of the Pacific area. Chancellor Angela Merkel summarized the problem in a quite impacting way. While in 2012, the population of the European Union represented 7% of the world population and generated 25% of global wealth, it needed 50% of total social spending. This leads to the problematic sustainability of the most distinctive feature of the European social model. As King Willem Alexander of the Netherlands put it to the Dutch people in his speech from the throne in September 2013, the classical welfare state is slowly but surely evolving into a participation society. It is still unclear what a participation society means, but we will no doubt find out very soon. What have the members of the European Union done to tackle the relative economic decline and to strengthen the viability of the welfare state? The Lisbon Strategy was a 10-year action and development plan devised in the year 2000 for the European Union to become, by 2010, the most competitive and dynamic knowledge-based economy in the world, capable of sustainable economic growth with more and better jobs and greater social cohesion. Despite the grandiloquence of the Lisbon European Council resolution, only a few member states did implement the necessary reforms to restart the engine of sustainable growth. Transnational synchronization was completely missing, and each national government confronted widespread local resistance to any of the programmed reforms. The general unwillingness to undertake reforms was due to both domestic and international factors. At the domestic level, the unwillingness to reform was due to electoral reasons, the power of the anti-reform lobbies, and the fact that the European economies did manage to grow not on increased productivity, but riding on the inflows of capital at historically low interest rates due to the coming into force of the single currency. At the international level, it is true that the members of the European Union confronted an unprecedented challenges which distracted them from this matter: the collapse of real socialism in Eastern Europe. This represented a systemic change. It led first to the absorption of the German Democratic Republic into the Federal Republic of Germany, and the transformation of the latter into the most powerful entity in Europe from the economic, demographic, and political viewpoints. The collapse of Soviet dominance over the countries in the Eastern Bloc also led these countries to surge defense security against the collapse of the Soviet Union in joining NATO, and economic security in joining the European Union. Accommodating 11 countries coming out of the cold socialist winter, plus Cyprus and Malta, into the European Union, led to a frantic process of institutional adaptation that distracted efforts from other crucial matters. Whatever the reason, the consequence was, inevitably, that the gap in per capita terms between the European Union as a whole and, for instance, the United States continued to widen. Not much was accomplished to redress the European Union's lower employment rate, weaker labor resource utilization, and poorer labor productivity performance relative to the United States. Not much has been done in the last 20 years to slow down the European Union's relative decline in world terms. These might be the most important challenge pending response in the 21st century.